الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله تعالى نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. Dear brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us, requires us in the Quran Majid. He says, ittaqullah, be conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Be fearful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you are making any mistakes, you should be fearful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How much should you be conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Haqqa tuqatihi. As much as He deserves you to be conscious of Him. Now, knowing that we were nothing, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us, knowing that we will not be able to get anything unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provided through rain and earth and plants growing, animals growing, providing proteins, meat, everything comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We do not make anything. The farmer sows the seeds does not mean that he grows the plants. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala which grows the plants. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one. Through the roots, all the nutrition from the earth is extracted and sent to the corn, to the rice and whatnot. So it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who creates everything that we need on the planet Earth. We don't have to go outside of the planet Earth to get anything. Everything is here on the planet Earth. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who created us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is providing us. Should we not be conscious of Him? Should we not be conscious of Him to know what He requires from us and what makes Him happy and what makes Him mad? All those things we should know as much as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deserves that we should know, and we should be living our lives in accordance with the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm going to go over a little bit about the month of Ramadan is coming. I'm sure you've heard a lot about the fasting and all that. I will not get into that. But what else can you do in the month of Ramadan in order to earn the most benefits out of the month of Ramadan. Okay? And one thing that you can do is you can be good to each other. Actually, when you are fasting, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has said that if you are fasting and you do not give up lying and cheating, then Allah Subhanahu wa Taala does not need your hunger, does not need you to be hungry. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam does not even say fasting. So the fasting becomes so bad that it becomes just a hunger, staying hungry. And Allah Subhanahu wa Taala does not need you to be hungry. Allah Subhanahu wa Taala needs you to be fasting. Fasting means much more than just staying hungry and thirsty. It is living your life, every moment of your life, that you should be in accordance with the teachings of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala in order to be pleasing to Him. Now, we live in a society, we are not living alone, so we do interact with each other, right? So how can we interact with each other in order to make each other happy? Those are some of the things that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has said in the Quran al-Majid, and so I'm going to go over those things. This Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala says, الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ ثُمَّ لَا يُتْبِعُونَ مَا أَنْفَقُوا مَنًّا وَلَا أَذًى لَهُمْ أَجْرُهُمْ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ وَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. They who spend their possessions for the sake of Allah. And when you spend your possessions, you give it to somebody who deserves it, somebody who needs it. Or maybe you can even just give a gift to your friend. It's fine. And for the sake of Allah Subhanahu, and if you're whatever favor you're doing to your friend, if you're doing for the sake of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, do you expect anything in return from them? If you do, then you're not doing it for Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. You're doing it to get some thank you back. You're expecting some gift, that your friend will give you some gift because you gave them a gift. If that is the intention, then you're not giving it for the sake of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and that does not count. So think about it this way. How good it will be that you just give a gift to your friend and say that, oh, you're my friend, I just want to give you a little gift. And he wants to thank you, and no, you don't need to thank you. I'm giving it for the sake of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. I have no other intention. How pleasing it will be, the interaction, and how happy your friend will be when you do that, right? On the other hand, if you expect something in return, your friend will start to think, oh my God, he gave me a gift, now what gift should I give? Now I have to go out and buy something that he will like and give it to him. So that makes him anxious rather than happy. So you should never expect anything in return when you. So Allah Subhanahu wa Taala says, those who spend their possessions for the sake of God and do not thereafter follow up with their spending by stressing their own benevolence, like you give something to somebody and then you sort of start boasting, oh, I'm giving it to you. Take it, this is such a nice thing, and then the recipient of the gift will start to feel a little anxious. Okay, why is he giving it to me? And then saying all these things as if I needed it. And so, and hurting the feeling of others. And you shall have their reward with their sustenance. If you do that without causing any hurt to other people, no anxiety to whatever, no expecting anything from them back, then it is for the sake of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and Allah Subhanahu wa Taala provides you the gift. And another Surah Al-Baqarah also, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala says, الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ بِاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ سِرًّا وَعَلَانِيَةً فَلَهُمْ أَجْرُهُمْ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ وَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. And if you are those who spend their possessions for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by night and by day, secretly and openly, shall have their reward with their sustenance, and no fear, need shall they have, and neither shall they shall they grieve. So it's any benefits that you give as a gift to your friend, the benefit does not come back from the friend, but comes back from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what you get is the reward of having good relations. You build good relations with each other when you do that. And on the other hand, وَالَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ رِعَاءَ النَّاسِ وَلَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ وَلَا بِالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَمَنْ يَكُنُ الشَّيْطَانُ لَهُ قَرِيبًا فَسَادًا قَرِيبًا. And God does not love those who spend their possessions on others only to be seen and praised by men. While they believe neither in God nor in the last day. People who do that, they really don't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When they are expecting rewards right here on earth, then it really, they're not expecting anything from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will not get it from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says in Surah Ibrahim, وَإِسْتَعَذَّنَ رَبُّكُمْ لَئِنْ شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ وَلَئِنْ كَفَرْتُمْ إِنَّ عَذَابِي شَدِيدٌ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that if you are thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then He is the one who increases the possession that you have. And so, you receive things from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything that you have is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you have it, you should not be boastful that, oh, I am so capable, I'm earning this thing, and I have high salary, I have good business, and business is making me good money. You should never do that. You should be thinking it all comes from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you do that, if you لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ, all you need to do is be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's promise is that He will increase what He is giving it to you by simply accepting the thanks from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I have a few other collection of ahadith, and these are really so beautiful sayings, very short sayings of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And they are so meaningful that they will improve your relations with each other very drastically. First hadith, part of the perfection of someone's Islam is his leaving alone that does not concern him. This is a perfection of Islam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is what it's called. So here Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, if you want to perfect your Islam, what you need to do is something that doesn't concern you, leave it alone. You have heard some rumor about somebody. He has done this and that. Now, does it concern you? If it concerns you, you should investigate. If it does not concern you, leave it alone. Do not dig into other people's affairs unnecessarily. And Rasulullah said that is a part of perfection of the deen, that you concern yourselves only with what matters to you. If it does not matter to you, then you are unnecessarily digging into other people's things, which only creates bad feelings among people. When they find out, these days it's so easy to dig into other people's things, right? You go on Google and start to find out what's going on. Unnecessarily, what should you do? If you do it, it will create bad feelings and it will not be the perfection of your deen. Rasulullah said, the perfection of someone's Islam is his Leaving alone, that does not concern him. Okay? The second hadith, I call these were called the four jumps from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Let him who believes in Allah and the last day either speak good or keep silent. It's a very, very important hadith that if you hear something from somebody, if you like it, you tell him and congratulate him. If you do not like it, just leave it alone. Don't, if you want to cause an improvement in some other people, you can do it in private. When you want to praise somebody, praise them in public. If you want to criticize somebody, do it in private. Because you do not want to publicize your opinions about other people. And even Rasulullah even said that either speak good or keep silent. If you do not like something, just be silent. Because maybe you have not understood. Maybe he meant something different. Maybe he was making a joke and you took it seriously. Some things could happen, and if you confront the people, then it will only worsen the relationship between them. And a man said to Prophet ﷺ counsel, he said, do not become angry. I'm sure all of you have heard of this hadith. We have heard it again and again. The man repeated this question again and again. They advised me, what will be your advice to me, O Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Repeatedly, his answer was, do not get angry. Anger is something so dangerous that you lose control of yourself. And you do not know what you're talking about, and you might keep making mistakes and making things worse rather than making things better. And Rasulullah ﷺ's advice, the practical advice. We all get angry once in a while, right? You cannot say that, it may be very rare that people do not get angry. Rasulullah ﷺ's advice is, of course, do not get angry. But if you do get angry, what should you do? If you're standing up, you sit down. Try this thing practically, it really works. That if you get angry and if you're standing and then you're waving your hands and expressing your anger and all that, you should immediately think, what did Rasulullah ﷺ tell me to do? Sit down. So when you're angry, sit down. And if you are already sitting down and got angry, Rasulullah ﷺ says, lie down. And this is a very practical advice from Rasulullah ﷺ that really works. So try it. If you get angry, if you're standing, sit down. If you're sitting down, lie down. Your anger will cool off. The last hadith. It's very, very important. When we get jealous of people, right? And this is a cure for the jealousy. None of you truly believes, this is Rasulullah questions your belief and says that none of you truly believes until he wishes for his brother what he wishes for himself. Now supposing you found something very nice in the store and you got it. And rather than showing it around, look what I got, and look I have it, you don't have it, you wish that your brother will also have the same thing. You don't have to go and buy it. Of course, you buy it as a gift, that's fine. But for part of being a true believer, what you should do is you wish, like for example, you bought a nice car. Okay? And you wish that your brother also has the same kind of car. You wish that, so this is, and if you do, then all the jealousy goes away. There is no more jealousy. So Rasulullah has said that none of you truly believes until he wishes for his brother what he wishes for himself. So these are very, very beautiful sayings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he has, there are so many ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for personal interaction, how you interact with each other, and how you can make others feel welcome or comfortable, and so on. So one of the hadiths which also struck me very deeply, he says, you're sitting in a gathering, okay? And somebody walks in, and he might say Salaam alaikum, or may not say Salaam alaikum. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that you move your body a little bit to make a gesture that you are welcoming the person. If you completely ignore the person coming in, the person will feel that, oh, nobody's acknowledging that I'm coming in. But if you move your body, and one time Rasulullah was sitting, and even there is plenty of room for other people to sit, but you make a gesture, or point to, come on over here, sit here, something, that gesture that tells him that you are welcome to come in. And that makes the thing, the person coming in makes him feel so happy with everything. And so all these minor little things that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has pointed out have a great impact on building good relations among each other. So in the month of Ramadan, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said that fasting is of course for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we all know that if you are fasting, nobody knows that you are fasting, right? Nobody knows. Only Allah knows. If you are praying, you stand up and recite and all those things, everybody knows. But when you are fasting, nobody knows. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that fasting is for me, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He is the one who will give reward for it. And so, and the fasting is not simply from abstaining from food and drink and sexual activity, but many more things that are apparent from the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I have a couple more minutes. I want to tell you that Imam Ghazali rahmatullah has written the book Al-Ihya, and it's an English translation available. It's called Inner Dimensions of Islamic Worship. And he goes through the fasting in the description. And he categorizes the fasting into three categories. Okay? And he uses Arabic words or English translations that I learned. So I'm going to say that the first grade of fasting is adequate fasting. The fasting which is completely adequate, which meets legal requirements, that you don't eat anything, you don't drink anything, you don't engage in any sexual activity. That is adequate fasting, he calls it. Okay? The next level of fasting, he says, which is superior fasting. Is the fasting, when you are doing a fasting, then you say that, okay, how are you using your eyes? Are you looking at things that please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you're reading the Quran or saying some beautiful things in praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or you're letting your eyes wander here and there at things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like you to do. So it's a fasting of the eye. Are you hearing something that will please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Are you speaking something that will please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or are you just fighting and arguing with people? And so, and how are you using your lips? Are you touching anything that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or does not please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Are you walking towards something that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or does not please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? All these things, if you keep track of your senses, not just the eating and hungry part of senses, then he calls it the superior fasting, the second degree of fasting. Then he describes the top-notch fasting, the highest grade of fasting. It is that you don't worry about anything in the world. Everything that you depend totally, completely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you devote yourself fully towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the whole night and day. And that people usually are able to do that when they are doing an itikaf. That with the last Rasulullah used to do the itikaf, the last 10 days of Ramadan, that if you go to any masjid, usually the masajid make arrangements for suhoor and iftar, and of course you have to pay for those things ahead of time. But when you do that, you don't have to worry. You just focus yourself on the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and nothing else. And that he calls it the top notch, the highest grade of fasting. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to achieve as high a level of fasting as we can in this month of Ramadan, so that we achieve the full benefits of the month of Ramadan. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. وقال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما باركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. Oh Allah, give us life for a few more days until we reach the month of Ramadan, and allow us to derive the benefits of the month of Ramadan. Guide us to make as best use of the month of Ramadan that is pleasing to you. We will have relatively comfortable fasting, but our brothers and sisters in Gaza, in Sudan, in Syria, and in Kashmir, and Rohingya community, the Uyghur community, they do not have the same opportunities as we do. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we plead with you to make your direct intervention to make their lives comfortable. Give them shelter if they do not have shelter. Give them food if they do not have food. Oh Allah, as long as you have given us a comfortable life, guide us also to do what we can in order to provide care and comfort for our brothers and sisters of Islam. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم انصر من نصر دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم واجعلنا منهم واخذل من خذل دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا تضلنا عباد الله رحمكم الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون واذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله تعالى أعلى.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
الله أكبر.
الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء أحوى سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله إنه يعلم الجهر وما يخفى ونيسرك لليسرى فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى سيذكر من يخشى ويتجنبها الأشقى الذي يصلى النار الكبرى ثم لا يموت فيها ولا يحيا قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. والتين والزيتون وطور سينين وهذا البلد الأمين لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون فما يكذبك بعد بالدين أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
نشكر الدكتور محمد قيصر-الدين جزاه الله خيرا. يعني تعرفونه طبعا من NCC والكونسل اوف Islamic Organization Greater Chicago. يعني كان لهم يعني يد عليا يعني في دعم مسجدنا في مسيرته هذه. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to multiply the reward for you in this dunya and جزاكم الله خيرا.
السلام عليكم. الله أكبر الله أكبر.
انت كنت الإمام ولا
سمع الله. سمع الله. الله